Let's think about this. All right. Right. At manifestations, whenever something happens on the internal process at star and spiritual realm and equipment, it then has this evil way of somehow manifesting on surface Earth, linguistically in my very real whatever. It's kind of how the universe was built on the way in, with slight modifications based on the main impact zone of who's participating and helping get my impact zone where I need to be. Or are they going to fight for these stupid sleeves of skin around the world and their dumb ideas? Somewhere in the world, there's something called a scheduling coordinator. I'd have no idea where that would be. There's somebody called a scheduling agent. I have no idea who that is or how they get paid. Then there's something called a wisdom seeker. I guess, is that the one trying to get a copy of the schedule or whatever? This gets very confusing. Then there's the shame committee, which at this point, it's like, I want to say 100% of like the New York state of mind, because it's like, I've met some people, but I don't know. I mean, they say in certain areas that the day that you are enlightened, or the day that you find out about my story and my very real situation, whether you know who's at fault or not, you're on the line, you're on the hook, you know. So that's your birthday. That is the day that you learned that there is a God trapped in your state or in your lifetime, and you must, by like the laws of the universe and the laws of everything sacred and holy, participate actively in helping solve the crime, but in helping get that goddess or God into a position where they're safe, so they're no longer taxing and plaguing in ways that normal humans can't possibly fathom or understand. That's how Bushido works. If you found out about it, you knew about it, you know that there is somebody somewhere that is causing the world to split, but you don't know how and why, and it's all quantifiable, then why is nobody actively participating in getting the one piece to where she needs to go to seal whatever it is that God sealed together, in order to then heal and fix the broken in other area? Why is it you continuously try to break and mess with, or don't care about the one most crucial piece in your lifetime? You are purposely trying to shame me. I get that. That's just this world that I was born to. You're a bunch of disgusting hippy-dippy shakers, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, that guy, Frank, that came to meet me, that he was the Harley Davidson 1% club that I then got to meet, like Alec. I guess Alec was there. We'll go with that at the moment. Then he introduced me to Jeannie Zoller, who has Sophia Zoller, which is her daughter. Jeannie doesn't look Asian whatsoever, but her love of her life that she was married to, David Zoller, apparently died of a brain tumor, whatever, and left her bitter, angry, and nobody gives a shit. So, in the grand schematic of things, but he was, David, who died of brain cancer, was like half Japanese or something. I don't know. She's got a motif on her that's painted into her house. Paul Chico, who is very Guatemalan, but that would anger some people. No, he's somewhere in like the Puerto Rican, Dominican, some Spanish that doesn't get along with other Spanish, and I don't know how we're doing that, like, prison tough, like awesome, but like has a heritage. I just don't know which one because I can't remember, and I don't know if he ever taught me. If he did, it's on my record somewhere. All right. Then, Jeannie, I was alone one weekend. She's like, "You want to come with me?" She's like, "My sister Patty invited me to Mohegan Sun." I'm like, "Isn't that like casino?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Not really." I was like, "I mean, I go out west for my conferences, but it's not my scene. I mean, I don't like the design. Yeah, I don't like the motif. It's just ugly, ugly, ugly. And the whole atmosphere is just so pornographically like perverse with the gambling and the throwing your money. I don't have money to gamble either." I was like, I was like, "Well, here's the thing. I will go." I was like, "But I don't want to be in imposition because I don't have money to gamble. I don't like gambling, and I don't have money to put in for a hotel room. So that's going to be a bit of a problem." I was like, "So I probably shouldn't go." And she's like, "No, you know what?" She's like, "Patty already got a room with a whole bunch of her friends." She's like, "Whatever. We'll sleep on the couch. We'll sleep on the floor. Well, whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, are you sure?" I was like, "Why don't you call them and find out?" I was like, "Because I don't want to get there with a whole bunch of strangers and then have them talk shit that I like, not contributing or whatever." I was like, again, I'm really not in the mood to deal with like angry women. And so she's like, "No, no, no." She's like, "It'll be," she's like, "At anything, I'll throw the money in." I was like, "You sure?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, whatever." So I took the ride with her from my house in Ronkonkoma to Orient Point, Long Island, like the tip of Long Island. And then I think we took a ferry to Connecticut, I think it is. Again, I don't actively go up there. And then from there, or maybe it was Jersey, I don't really know. And then she drove the rest of the way because we took the car on the ferry. And that's when she told me her whole life story. I didn't really have much to contribute. I'm like, my life's not interesting at all. It really fucking sucked. And it doesn't look any better. So why talk about it? And so we get to Mohegan Sun. She introduces me to Patty and a group of nobody gives a shit women. They did whatever girls do, and who the fuck cares? Nobody remembers. And it was so insignificant. It's painful even having to recap and retell the whole fucking story. So I slept on the floor, and I think I brought my own pillow. So I had my pillow, and I had room on the floor, and they slept in the beds and whatever they did. And then that was it. We got up and we left. The other point to that story was, I remember there was some discrepancy. Judy had found out that I was appearing to still be friends with Maria Mirza, and there were weekends where the Aeronavigational Department was reporting to aviation that I was in Maria's house for the weekend. But nobody could find Lou and Linda. They didn't know where they were. They don't have accurate timed sequence event of me traveling to Maria's house. It's like the sequence just pops in, I'm there with them, and then there's whatever we were talking about or hanging out. And then I'm back at my house. Now, interestingly with that was third grade, I think, Miss Arvan's class in Lloyd Harbor Elementary. And then I'd go to Lloyd Harbor Elementary, usually by bus, but I think at that point there was even some discrepancies how I got into that classroom. Because I used to take a bus when Teddy was on the bus with me, and Matthew McKee, he lived up by the Kane's house, right by Vicky Gambardella. But then, like, there's patches of, wait a minute, how did this kid get from her house in Cold Spring Harbor to New Hyde Park for this play date? No parents drove her. She can't, like, she literally just walked through and appeared. Right, yeah, that's been happening to me my whole fucking life. I didn't ask to go to Maria's house. She didn't call and ask me over. Although there was a sequence where she did call me, and she said they were having a block party, BLOCK. I didn't know what that was. She says, "Oh, you don't have those where you were?" And I'm like, "No, I don't even." I'm like, I had one neighbor, Chuck. He works at Disney. I was like, I used to go over there and make him brownies because he was like the grandpa of the neighborhood for me, and he's just a nice old guy that was lonely too, and showed me all his artwork, and and his wife was really nice. She was a teacher. They had a whole bunch of sons. Let's think about this. And Maria was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Well, around here we have a lot of neighbors, and they all do contribute something, and we go out into the street. We close the street down, and then all the kids run all up and down the street and get to meet all the neighbors and play with the kids, and they whatever, the food." And she's like, "It's a lot of fun." She's like, "You want to come?" I'm like, "Sure." For that, I asked my parents, and then they drove me. There's a sequence of that drive. And then they were asking, "Well, what is the livery, Livery, which is the drive, Drive. But for acrylic, they used a different English at the time. They're like, "What's the livery? Like, what are the stores? Like, what do you see when you drive in the car if you're looking out the window?" I'm like, "I don't." I was like, "I only see things out of Judy's yellow canary muscle car when she used to drive me around because she lived in Belrose. I have no idea what stores there are." Although that guy that I met, Mike, down in Bay Terrace on video camera, the one with the big belly, he had a St. Thomas shirt on the first day, really angry at me. But then the next day he was wearing a white shirt. Nice. He was much nicer. And every day then he's been much nicer. The other night he was shirtless, by the way. I didn't say hello. It was a little weird for me, but to each his own. So, but he mentioned to me when I was speaking to him very respectfully the other day, that there was a Pizza Hut, a really famous Pizza Hut around, going from New Hyde Park towards Cross Island. I couldn't tell you. I can't remember it if there was, but Judy said that some of the landmarks were going to change quickly based on the fact of when she used to drive me up and down Hillside when I was at her house for shopping and various things to go see Grandma. Some of that Coptic recall from my own Body Machina was being used to manipulate records elsewhere, to get the neighborhood more Maria and her people friendly for the future, which I did not understand. Why am I being put in the middle of this, and why is it my Coptic footage that's being manipulated? And then Miss Arvans found out something from the people that she knows. I think she said she knew somebody at NASA. She had some kind of like walkie-talkie phone. It was like big and thick, and it had a huge antenna on it. She had to carry a big purse, she said, because it was so large that the purse had to get bigger. And so she said that she would ask me, she'd be like, "Nicole, I have a question for you." She's like, "What do you do on the weekends?" Because I know some of the kids here, like, they go to the country club or they just disappear and like they have other lives. What is it that you do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I couldn't answer the question because wherever I was in Miss Arvan's third grade class at Lloyd Harbor Elementary, it wasn't really Lloyd Harbor Elementary. I mean, it's not what you humans enter into every day. I mean, there's a version of that, but then there's the alternate version for the special ops area to try to fix my very real spiritual situation and some things that they did that really tore time and space apart, and they don't trust one another because they're not trustworthy people. And they were sent one representative to kind of mediate for them all, and then they shamed her so badly and played guerrilla warfare tactics that now she's in a really tough spot.